What is the cost of the implementation of the green policy of zero carbon dioxide emissions? What are the real benefits to the climate if these policies are implemented? Why is the left not actually disclosing this information? First, however, please help this channel by giving this video a like. Every like will help the YouTube algorithm. Thank you in anticipation. The Greens, and they are supported by Labour, are pushing to get New Zealand closer and closer to the zero carbon emissions target. This to solve what is, in their opinion, a catastrophic problem with the climate. Is there a problem with the global warming, or the more usual term of climate change? No, there is not, and this whole campaign is just the left trying to engender fear to enable them to institute global government on socialist lines. Why was the term changed from global warming to climate change? Could it be because the planet has not in fact warmed at all in the last 18 years? So current global warming is therefore a myth. Yes, the increase in CO2 in the atmosphere has had a limited effect on global temperature, as it is a so-called greenhouse gas. It has also had the effect of increasing the grain crop yields that are part of the food chain and making the planet greener overall with more forestation, both benefits. So what will be the cost of zero carbon emissions? To achieve zero carbon dioxide emissions, the following will need to be eliminated. All petrol and diesel powered cars. Yes, the only way at this time is for all cars to be plug-in electric, although hydrogen power is on the horizon. There is the obvious problem with that though. Where is the electricity coming from? We have something like 90% of our electricity generated from renewables at present, but a massive increase in the demand for charging cars will not be met from these sources. This particularly as the Greens will not support any more hydropower and the dams that are needed to be built for that purpose. Coal and gas are also out, as that would not meet their zero carbon result. So we are left with wind and solar. Solar does not work at night, and on a still night there will not be much wind generated electricity as well, just at the time when most electric cars are being recharged. At present, solar, which is not popular in New Zealand anyway, produces less than 25% of its design capacity, and wind may be some 35% of its design capacity. And on top of this is the total unreliability of these sources of power. There is also the possibility of nuclear power, but that would not meet with the Green support or possibly the majority of New Zealand citizens. Where therefore is the reliable baseload power to come from? The Greens state that battery technology is improving, and they are right there. But where are these batteries to come from, and at what cost both financially and to the environment? The production of these batteries is both costly and environmentally damaging. I will not comment at this time on the problems involved with the disposal of these batteries, as they are not everlasting. So let's move on to the trucking and bus industries. Nearly everything in New Zealand is carried at some time on a truck. Raw materials for factories, new products to shops, containers from the ships and virtually everything else. To convert these operations to electric vehicles is just not practical with today's technology. One of the bus companies in Wellington investigated using electric buses, only to realise that there would not be enough power to recharge the batteries every night. Therefore, the only way to reach the goal of zero carbon emissions is to not use trucks and buses. How will you survive if that happens? One of the bigger so-called polluters is the airline industry, with the jet engines now being used to power most planes. There is not the technology to convert these to battery power, so all flying must be stopped. With no flying, there can be no travel and no tourism industry. The tourism industry generates in New Zealand some $41 billion a year, with international tourism, some 17.5 billion of that, and the rest, some 23.5 billion, from domestic tourism. Zero carbon emissions will mean the complete collapse of the tourism industry. No more flights, few hotel and motel nights, a substantial reduction of the taxi industry, a substantial reduction in the cafe restaurant business, and last but not least, the elimination of the international student education market. The coal and oil industries must also go. That will mean there will be no mining of coal in New Zealand, much to the chagrin of the West Coast, and the petroleum industry in Taranaki will need to be closed down. Fossil fuel generated energy has meant the development of our current civilization. First, coal-powered steam and later electricity has meant that we have developed an energy-dependent society. Without the supply of reliable and cost-efficient energy, our society as we know it today would collapse, sending us back to a time that none of us would like to contemplate. What would happen if, as some are predicting, there was a period of global cooling? How do we heat our homes with little or no reliable energy? How is the government going to afford to pay for its social agenda when the current sources of energy cannot be used, so reducing the economic activity of a nation close to zero? The left does not explain how they will overcome all these problems, other than to say other industries will emerge. What and when? It is a time for the more sensible politicians in this country to stand up and point out the idiocy of following zero carbon emissions targets. What we are talking about here is energy production and all the benefits that has produced for the whole world, including the lifting of countless millions out of abject poverty. I heard today a prediction that zero carbon emissions will reduce the New Zealand gross domestic product by over 16%, a staggering amount that will mean the total collapse of our society. Is this what the left wants, so that they can institute their socialist utopia? Where are the rightists and the obvious claims that adaptation to possible effects of global warming will be much cheaper than the so-called measures needed to reduce global warming, which may or may not happen? Remember that man's contribution to CO2 is minuscule at 0.0012%, and how can the elimination of that tiny amount do much, if anything, to the climate? Well, that is the end of this video. If you would like to comment, both positive and negative, feel free, as it is good to have a two-way conversation. Remember to hit the like button, as that will help the YouTube algorithms. Any comments you wish to make may give me ideas for future commentary. Please share this video with your family and friends. If you wish to subscribe, then push the relevant buttons, including the little bell. Then you will find out when I upload a new video. Just use the appropriate buttons. Thank you for watching Captain Cookie's commentary, and we will see you next time.